I've been using the iPhone 14 Pro Max for a little over a month, and in this video we're going to talk about some of my first impressions and just overall what I feel about the phone having used it for a month or so. So we're going to start off by talking about the cameras on this device. Now this device has a 48 megapixel camera for the main camera and two 12 megapixel cameras on the back as well. One of those being a telephoto camera, the other being an ultra wide. Now these cameras can shoot 4K up to 60 frames per second and 1080p up to 240 frames per second. And it includes shooting modes like HDR and Dolby Vision, and that's up to 60 frames per second as well. The iPhone also has shooting features such as ProRes, action mode, and cinematic mode, which I'm actually shooting in and filming this video in cinematic mode right now. So that's one of the modes I've actually really enjoyed on this iPhone 14 and in some of the previous models like the iPhone 13. The cinematic mode is really good. I feel like Apple did a great job with the cinematic mode. Now, these cameras actually perform surprisingly well in low light conditions. I tested this camera out just a little bit so far in this 1 month. I haven't been in too many situations where I've been taking or shooting videos in low light, but for the pictures and videos that I did take in low light, this phone performed pretty well. Now let's talk about the battery and the display of this device. But first, let's speak more about the battery and how it's performed day to day for my usage. I have not had one issue with the battery life in this iPhone 14 Pro Max. Actually, this battery is far better than the one that you're gonna find in the S22 Ultra. With the S22 Ultra, I could barely make it through a day with just moderate to heavy usage. On this iPhone 14 Pro Max, I can make it at least a day and a half on one charge. And that's surprising because the battery is only 4,323 milliamp hours. So that's not a huge battery. It's not a small battery either, but it's definitely not a huge battery. But it has lasted me at least a day and a half, and that's more than I can ask for. Far as fast charging, this phone actually charges decently well, I would say. Not as fast as the S22 Ultra. The S22 Ultra, I could be at 15%, throw the phone down on the charger, come back in 5-10 minutes, and I'd be already at 45%. So that charging was phenomenal. This charging is just okay, but I mean, it does support fast charging. According to Apple, you get up to 50% charge in 30 minutes, so that's not too terribly bad. For the display on this device, we're looking at a 6.7-inch display, and for the resolution, that's 1290 by 2796 for the pixels, aka 460 ppi. This phone also gets up to 2000 nits of brightness. So when you're outside and you're in direct sunlight, you shouldn't have an issue still seeing the display. Now that's a big thing for a lot of us. A lot of us that go outdoors, go for walks in the park, whatever you're doing, a picnic, you still want to be able to see your display on your device. And with the 2000 nits of brightness, you can definitely do that. The last thing I want to mention about this device is something I've enjoyed over the last month, and it's something I think that separates the previous models of iPhones from the iPhone 14 Pro and iPhone 14 Pro Max, and that's, you guessed it, the dynamic island. Now Apple shrunk the notch a little bit on these new devices, and they're calling it now the dynamic island. And with this dynamic island, it allows you to use the phone in a different way that you have before. So where the notch used to be, you can now use this dynamic island to see current music that's playing, the current duration of your phone calls when you're on the phone. You can see if your phone is locked or unlocked, and you can also see when your phone is charging and how much charge it has to go, all with this where the notch used to be with this new dynamic island. That's a feature that I really enjoyed, and I think it separates obviously the standard iPhone and the previous models from the iPhone 14 and iPhone 14 Pro. So all in all, after having this phone for about a month and a half, I have to say I really enjoy this phone. This is probably the best iPhone I've had and the best phone with the best battery life that I've had in quite some time. When it comes to the cameras, I'm satisfied. I can't complain. These cameras look very good. They look just as good, if not better at times, than the S22 Ultra. But it's really going to depend on what ecosystem you're tied into. So if you're heavily invested in iOS, then this iPhone 14 Pro Max might be a little better than the S22 Ultra. And if you're heavily invested in Google and Google's platform, then the S22 Ultra might be a little better than the iPhone 14 Pro Max. But after this month, I will say I've really enjoyed this phone, and this is a pretty great iPhone. I can't complain. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this review, and let me know in the comment section if you like this format that I'm doing here, being in front of the camera, or if you prefer just the hands all in your face. Whatever it is, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.